And we are back. What is going on, Legend? But welcome back to Beyond the 90. Got a video, stick to our schedule at least once a week, trying to get a video out. It was just hard to find Brentford fans and think we're here now. So we've got the 1-1 draw. And what do you think of the game?
The thing is, a point against Brentford in isolation is a good point when you look at where they have been this season, how good they've been at home, and how difficult they've made it to go to their ground and get anything. I think I'm happy with that result as a one-off, but overall, 1 point out of 18 is the sort of overriding feeling. It's like, yes, Brentford are a brilliant team. Yes, we did well to get a point and probably could have got more from it.
Mm-hmm.
But 1 point out of 18 is the big stat that's sticking out to me.
Yeah, and you can probably tell by like the title at the moment, bit better, still work to do. That's kind of how I feel at the moment. And I'm not trying to get myself too I'm not trying to get myself too high because I'm almost expected to slip back because we've done it so many times. And I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but do you see what I mean? I don't feel confident that we're going to push on from this.
No, because what you said it at the start of my season, and I've nicked the phrase throughout it. It's like the definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. How many times have we had a half decent result and like, oh, we're going to kick on from here, and we don't kick on from it? It's like you can only see the same thing so many times and expect a different result. I think the thing is as well, as good as yesterday was in terms of picking up a draw, we're talking about a draw away at Brentford, and I'd mean that no disrespect
Mm.
to Brentford because I think Brentford are absolutely brilliant. Thomas Frank has got them playing some very good football and really getting the most out of what he's got there. But we're talking about a draw away against Brentford as if it's been as if it's some huge result. We used to say when we picked a point up at places like Anfield and Old Trafford, that was like a really good result. Now we're
Mm.
talking about Brentford. And as I say, I don't mean that as any shade on Brentford. I think Brentford will go on to qualify, or I hope they do go on to qualify for Europe. But the standard has dropped so much in the last year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and also you're looking at it this season. And it's such a disappointing thing because Brentford have been fantastic. Brighton have been another team. I think they're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup now.
Mm.
And there's certain teams that are absolutely smashing it. And I hope, again, just going into the top of the table, because it's quite depressing to talk about Leicester. So let's talk about other teams that are actually doing well, literally, at the moment. So we've got, again, obviously Arsenal are just smashing it this season, absolutely dominating. And then after that, obviously Man City, Man United, with the whole thing that's going on with Tottenham, you're looking at it going, I'd love for Fulham, I'd love for Brighton, I'd love for Brentford. And with Liverpool, obviously Chelsea might make it. Um, Tottenham, I could just, if Newcastle, Liverpool, and Tottenham were all replaced by Brighton, Fulham, and Brentford, I'd live vicariously through them for a bit.
You have just given up, haven't you? You really have. Like,
I can't, as you were saying, Ant, to do the same thing again and again. I don't know what to say. That we've been saying it for over a year, and I don't know what there is extra to add that we've not already said. Do you, do
yeah,
you honest? Do you understand?
yeah. Cheers, guys, for everyone for watching. So that's the end of. No, I'm joking. But the thing is,
You wonder why I've not posted.
the thing is, I said this yesterday on my own reaction. I went into quite a lot of detail with Chris about this. Is in yesterday's game, there was a period of the game where we played absolutely brilliantly, but then there's also a period in the first half where we were very poor. And it's like we seem to fail to put in a 90-minute performance. And this hasn't been just last week's problem. This has been a problem throughout the season. It's like you can't play well in a short spell of a game and expect to get 3 points. So we gave away an awful goal for Brentford, but like it's not as if that's a one-off. I think there's been more games this season than not where we've gone 1-0 down and have to chase a game. And it's like, it's brilliant, but we came back yesterday. But it's like, how many times are we going to keep going 1-0 down and like expecting to get 3 points? And I know people are going to say this stream's really negative and stuff. And to be honest, I'm beyond caring what anyone says at this point. But
That's
like
why I talk about Brentford.
it's but it's like 1 point out of 18 is like We
Just
are
disaster.
we are 17th by a reason, and I'm going to say something now that's going to upset a few people. The way that Brendan Rodgers has gone on about this being an achievement if we stay up, it's not an achievement if we stay up. The team with the fourth highest paid manager and the seventh highest wage bill should not be looked at as an achievement if we stay up.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. It's and his stuff he was saying again with Rodgers and how he. The thing is, the quality of the players we had, and even in this game, the quality that was on the pitch was good enough to win the game. Considering I watched the second half, and to be honest, in the second half, it looked a bit like a training exercise. Brentford weren't really there. They gave the ball away in lots of stupid positions. But we didn't really, apart from the great working for the goal, couldn't think of too many opportunities that we had created. And Brentford were there for the taking. And I love Brentford. I think Brentford are great. The second half, whatever happened, just didn't work. And it is kind of credit to Brendan Rodgers for turning on in the second half. But if that was a better team, from what I heard, we're going in there 3-0 down.
The first half was poor, very poor. But at the same time, like we did have a Harvey Barnes opportunity, but I think that was about it in terms of the first half. But as much as Brentford dominated the first half, they didn't have a huge amount of clear-cut chances. I can think of one or two. But what they were doing so well, and this is why I love Brentford and Thomas Frank, they know what they are good at. They don't try and be anything else. Brentford are Brentford. And this, I mean this in a way, but like I say, we try and be Man City and like play out from a back, tippy tappy football when we just do not have the players for that. Brentford knows. Thomas Frank knows exactly what Brentford are. They're a physical team that are direct, put balls into the box early, long throw-ins, direct free kicks, and cause havoc. And they play to those strengths and they play to them absolutely brilliantly. And in the first half, they did that. They got their goal through awful defending, but it could have been like, as you say, 2 or 3. But at the same time, we showed a good response. But again, why do we have to go 1-0 down before we start playing football?
Yeah, and it's again similar things. People say I'll get into some of the comments, but just says not happy, but I'll take it. Please, with the time we started to kick on more. Bored of getting my hopes up. That's where I'm at, mate. In terms of, I'm not trying to get myself too invested in it, as bad as it sounds. And one of my favorite things is trying to interview other fans and finding out how happy they are. Because I'm like, great for you. Anyway, we'll ignore the game of football.
I wish I could do that. The thing is, you know what I'm like. I'm so like, I don't know. I don't find it as easy as you to switch off from it.
I don't know. I've had no choice. I love this club. I want us to do well, but you can only take. We've been saying the same thing for the minimum of 12 months, 13 months now. The FA Cup is when it didn't really start. FA Cup 4-0 was the point where I was like, right, Brendan he's not going anywhere with this team. Okay, we've had, and then 13 months over, coming up to 14 months potentially with April right around the corner. The same issues are happening, and I've kind of given up. And it seems like, I think from the, what was it called, the Chelsea game, so many seats missing. As in people just not. There was so many that were going to general sale. It was incredible. I've never seen it like that since we came into the Premier League.
The thing is, for a big 6 club as well, like when it's normally the big 6 like clubs come into town, it'll be sold out weeks in advance. You could literally buy tickets on the day for the Chelsea game,
which is unheard of.
But we're going to expand the stadium.
I don't mind that, but we need to put in a performance that's worth a stadium expansion. A bare minimum. As you were saying, Anne, do the basics right for 90 minutes, and I'll be going, do you know what, lads? We at least we tried. Do you know what I mean? And if it comes back to that, I mean, we'll have to say it. Just to put in again, I will get some of your comments. Something you mentioned as well. Streaming the negative, say it how it is. Appreciate that, Ethan, as well. Appreciate that. Did Tony get picked positive by Amati? I think it's coming into not a segue into that. Amati, not too bad. They were missing all 3 of them. Buemo, Tony and I forgot what the other guy's name is on the left hand side, Wissa. All three of those were missing, but Harry Suter, I was impressed with how he managed to he's adapting to the Premier League, and B, he's showing signs of like, yeah, I'm seeing him, and he's a solid player that I think. I don't know if he'll be used for the whole of the Premier League next season, but I'm really having to have it as basically a squad player and a leader.
I don't know. I think I'm getting really similar vibes of when Maguire first signed and he was brilliant for us. I think Harry Suter will be a starter for us for the next year or hopefully years to come. But saying about yesterday, their front three being very quiet, Mbeumo had a lot of time and had a lot of the ball, just didn't do enough with it. Ivan Toney was nowhere to be found, and that says a lot because Ivan Toney is a brilliant player. Harry Suter pocketed him completely, and then Wissa, again, similar to Mbeumo, had time on the ball but didn't do a huge amount with it. But in terms of Harry Suter, that was a top draw performance yesterday. He was my man of the match. Aerially, he won absolutely everything. Dominant on the front foot, winning tackles, and even sort of on the ball, stepping forward, trying to make stuff happen. I thought, get the right partner for Harry Suter, and I think we've got a real player there.
Yeah, no, I think so, and that's what we're looking to hopefully get. I think Walt Fass again might be that bit part player as well. I still think he's got a future, but I think he's hit the ground running with us. Let's see if he has a pre-season and he can get used to the squad a little bit more and the new tactics with the new manager potentially in the summer, and we'll see what happens. I think sorry, you got a question on that?
I was going to say with Wout Faes, I think he did so well before the World Cup, and sort of he hasn't come back the same player after. But at the same time, the standard of what we'd seen in terms of centre backs before the World Cup was so poor that anything was going to look like an improvement.
And it did make a difference. Just when he joined, we went on a little bit of an uptake. Him, the set piece coach, and again when we got Christensen, when we got Tete, when we got Suter in, there was an uptake for 2 games. We're back to where we were. So I'm just hoping. I've said that so many times. I'm hoping he can kick on, but I think we're kind of stuck for this for a while, and we're going to get Ali on for the Crystal Palace game. So get your thoughts in then for that Crystal Palace game, or get questions on Twitter, and then we'll be on the 90 and we'll be able to get them to him. Another person that mentioned, did he hopefully get back to his best? I think he actually did quite well. We've seen him in fits and spurts, but what do you think of Ndidi in this game?
I thought it was good. I wanted him to start alongside Mendy, but yesterday I thought it was a game that I wouldn't say looked back to his best, but it was of the best performance we've seen from him from a long time. Physically, like winning balls back, being a physical nuisance in the midfield, and just breaking up play, which is what he does, which is what he's best at. But I do think him being in front of the back four gives the back four a lot more protection and confidence.
No, I definitely agree. And part of it is, if this is going to be the case and you've got your number one, stick with it. I like Samore. I'm losing patience with him. When he came on, I think he could potentially got sent off because he was making stupid challenges. He looked all over the place. And Diddy looked calm and composed, and Samore just looked like completely opposite. And I'm not writing him off, but because I know there's a superstar player in there. It's just not happening. And I don't understand why he took Ndidi off, apart from to try and rest him so that because he's not played 90 minutes in so long.
Saying that though about Samore, and I agree that he's frustrating. When he was on a run of good form, he was then put on the bench. So it's like, how are you ever going to kick on if you start when you are playing well? You're brought out of the team. Same with Mendy. Mendy's been brilliant. How is he ever going to kick on if he has a good run in the team and then's on the bench? Yeah, you've got a player like Dewsbury Hall, and I know what you're going to say to this, but you've got a player like Dewsbury Hall who has had a bad game week after week after week, and yes, he had an impact for a goal, but apart from that, the game passed him by yesterday. Who plays 90 minute after 90 minute after 90 minute? It's like, how are these players ever going to kick on in terms of the likes of Samare and Ndidi? If you've got a player, when you are playing well, you get dropped. Yet you've got a player who's not really putting in great performances, but is still playing week in, week out.
I think he's a good enough player to play because we haven't got another number 8. With Yuri injured, we don't have that other number play. We don't have that other player. If we play the gap between, if we play a 4-3-3, we've got 2 sitting, then Maddison, it's too big a gap. He fills that role, and also he offers you that. And I know you. I don't think he's as bad a player as you're making out. I think with a new manager and a new lease, we will see another KDH.
I,
At the
I,
moment, he's struggling, like a lot of players.
I don't think KDH is a bad player. I think he's in a bad vein of form, and his confidence is on the floor. So I think that there's a very good player in there that will be a very useful squad player. I don't think he's a player that should be starting week in, week out for us. And I don't think he's a player, particularly in his current form, that should be seeing 90 minutes after 90 minutes after 90 minutes. When you've got players like Mendy, who I actually think is better on the ball and better at progressing the ball than what Dewsbury Hall is, who obviously has been in very good form and then sees the bench.
Yeah,
Constantly.
no, I agree. And also he's falling out with play again. I think somebody put this on it. If you take off Mendy, Ndidi, you put on Mendy. For me, that made perfect sense. I understood a little bit where it might have been seen as too defensive, but I'm with you, Sean. It made sense to me. So look, we're gonna have to just hope and see what happens. Chris in the chat, make sure you go and subscribe to Leicester Till I Die TV. You'll see Ant over there, you see myself over there, and Chris does an amazing job with some of the stuff he's working on over there. So make sure you head over there. And he said Scott Parker's available. I'd rather have some other kind. I was going to say some really inappropriate jokes there, but no. It's the thing is, we know we'll get the next manager right in the same way that we've got the previous managers right. Not previous managers, previous players and replacements right. We'll get it right, but we just don't. We won't know who it is. Just like Walt Foss, nobody knows who he is. Came in, cool. Christensen linked for a little bit. Suto was linked for a little bit. Tete was linked for a little bit, but some other players come and go, who? All right then, cool. And then they end up going well.
This is what I say, and when people say who's your next manager going to be, it doesn't have to be a big name. It really, really doesn't. Like, had you heard of De Zerbi, Neil, before he'd gone to Brighton?
No.
Had you heard of Thomas Frank before he'd gone to Brentford?
No.
Exactly. Like, it does not need to be a big, like, famous name that everyone knows. It just needs to be someone who's got the right profile for what we need at Leicester, which is someone who promotes youth, improves players, and gets results.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the players buy into the system, and as we found out when we got Brendan Rodgers, it's cycle and it moves upwards in a great direction. It makes sense, and also we are an attractive club to come to. I think that's something that is something that's really hard to. Our owners are looked at as good. Obviously, our story is fantastic. Our training ground's fantastic. The backing that we give the manager, other managers will look at the amount of time that Brendan Rodgers given to turn it around, and they'll go, okay, I want to be given that time. You know, like Watford, where it's completely the opposite.
Yeah, Watford, you go to sign a 2-year deal knowing you're going to get paid. You're going to have to work for 2 months and get gardening leave for the rest of it. But in terms of Leicester, we are an attractive club if we keep our Premier League status. If we're a Championship club, we're attractive, but to a complete different tier of manager and a lower tier of manager.
But we've committed to this now. I don't think they'll make a change unless we hit the bottom of the Premier League again.
Yeah, I think it's too, like, this is the last opportunity this international break to make a change, and they're not going to do it. So I'm almost beyond the point of being like Brendan in, Brendan out, which I've been Brendan out for about 18 months. It's now just about backing the lads that are on the pitch and like just hoping that they can get over the line. Because every 90 minutes, I'm always behind the lads. But it's just now, it's just they need that bit extra from the crowd. But I just cannot get behind Brendan Rodgers anymore. I really can't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just looking at other scores and going, have they gone I think I say to you off camera, how are they going our way? Are they not? Okay, they are going our way. Okay, that's good. That's bad. That's about it, really. Because that's where we're at this moment in time. Yeah, I mean, another player that obviously got his start yesterday, Iverson. Wasn't really tested. I can't really make a judgment from what I saw. It's not enough to make me go yes or no. Does that make sense?
No, I think particularly with goalkeepers, but with any players, you need to give them a run in the team before you can make a fair assessment on him. I think I've seen people blaming him for the goal very harsh. It was two deflections before it came in to him. What I
Did
will
you see
say,
Match of the Day? Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. And even Ashley Williams, who I don't think is a great Premier League defender, I think he's a bang average Premier League defender. And I don't mean that at this time. Even he came out and said, "What are they doing for that defensive set pieces?" He goes, and then Brendan, he mentioned that Brendan came out and said they did really well for set pieces. Because that was awful. And I was like, I'm glad that other people are talking about it, because normally on Match of the Day they coast over it a little bit and go, Leicester will be fine. This will happen. So yeah, do you see what I mean?
yeah, I do. I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say something there, but
Sorry, mate. I just
oh yeah,
wanted to,
Iverson. We're on
yeah.
Iverson, weren't we? His distribution wasn't great, but we've known that's a weak point for him. We've known that for a long time, and he's a 24-year-old goalkeeper. In terms of goalkeepers, that's very young. Like when you look at like an outfield player at 24, you should just be starting to sort of, I wouldn't say hit your peak, but getting towards that stage. With a goalkeeper, it's still sort of baby years, really, 24. So
It's
he's
like 18 to 20 almost.
of an outfield player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a young keeper. He's going to need time. I'm hoping he's given a fair run in the team. But it's like, what I will say is, I still don't think, like, regardless if he's our number one or not next year, I still think we need another keeper, because I cannot see Danny Ward being here next year, because he's not going to want to go and sit back on the bench, and he's not
No.
going to be our starter.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with him, whether he goes to Championship, which I think will be the best route for him. Go down a level, get your run of games in, and then potentially have a time trying to move up. But I can't see another Premier League taking him unless they just come up from the Championship.
I wouldn't. That's the thing is, to get Danny Ward, he's one of those that, like, he's a risk. But if you're going to take a risk on a keeper, you go for a young keeper that the potential's up
Yeah.
compared to Danny Ward, who's 30, where you sort of know what you're going to get. He's a decent Championship keeper who's not a Premier League level. One thing I will say, second half, did you see David Raya absolutely making Harvey Barnes chase shadows? I absolutely love David Raya. What a keeper! I know we're not going to get him, but that kind of ilk of keeper would be brilliant in the summer.
I know, and we might get one again. It won't be that, but again, it's just getting the right profile of person in, and they've probably scouted it from January time. And we were linked to a few at the beginning of the season, but we've got to kind of get on with it now.
The keeper that we were going to try and sign in January broke his ankle, didn't he?
The Polish dude.
Polish guy, yeah.
It's very. I can't pronounce the name. I forgot the name, but it's I know. I remember the look though. He looks like a Viking.
Dragowski.
Yeah.
That's just Leicester all over, isn't it? We really need a keeper. The keeper we're going to sign gets injured.
Yeah. David Brooks, Nonimat Dweke, another one. Gets a serious injury, and he's like, "Yeah, okay." But yeah, I think in terms of that, look, we can take the positive. I think one thing we have got to look at as well is that point has made a bit of a difference at the bottom of the table, but not too much. We're still there in abouts, still 1 point off. Oh no, we're not. We are just on that at the moment. Are West Ham winning?
West Ham at the moment.
I think they're playing against. No, they're not. Well, I need to update this. I need to update that one. But yeah, I think it's relatively similar in terms of straightforward. But it's coming to a point now where nobody's growing away. But that's what's kind of good for us. The fact that there's no team that's pulling away from the pack. Crystal Palace are being dragged back into it. Wolves, for whatever reasons, are still there. So I'm happy that we're not the only ones.
To be honest, like on paper, our running is the easiest. But so far, we have been beaten twice by Southampton this year, who are bottom of the league. We've lost to Bournemouth. We've lost to Wolves. When you look at the teams that are sort of there, sorry, not Wolves.
We've lost to Forest.
Yeah, that's who I meant. We lost to Forest. We drew against Palace. It's like the teams thereabouts we need to be getting points and results from, but I'm not confident that we will.
No, and I think our losses, if you look at them as well, it's just basically it's 4 draws, and the majority of it's been it's been losses. So we've got 16, which could be, again, it's only one off the bottom. It is concerning times, and there isn't really anything for Brendan to say. There isn't really anything for the players' game. It's just step up, simple as step up, and we can't be losing. We can't be losing them. We can't be losing them because I don't bear to think what will happen if we do go down. But if we do, then it's on the head. But I don't have too much faith in it at the moment.
I'll tell you what worries me is this "we'll be all right" attitude. This
Yeah.
oh, we're too good to go down. And I was talking to a West Ham fan, and they say their fan base has got a very similar attitude to it. Sorry, not their fan base. But the club seems like they've got the same attitude towards it. Of like, oh, we're too good to go down, and there's too much quality within our squad. Because you look at that West Ham squad, like Declan Rice. You look throughout it, there's quality.
Maka, Antonio. They've got some
Bowman.
great. Ben Rama's a good player. Bowen, as you were mentioning, good player. Fabianski, still a good Premier League player.
Areola. Right.
Areola, yeah.
They're very similar to us in terms of, I think they're given too much loyalty to a manager that's past his sell-by date in terms of David Moyes because of previous success. And I think for Leicester, it's this "we'll be all right" attitude. We'll be fine. And it's like, well, we're not in the position we are by bad luck. We are here in 17th because we are the 17th best league team in the league.
And there's no escaping where we are at the moment. We aren't in a good position. This will continue as we go, because, and I think the main thing is the atmosphere and the home's ground, but I can't see that changing. I could just see more people just being despondent and not going, to be honest with you.
The thing is, it's next 3 games define our season. Like, I've just seen that comment.
But we've been saying how long have we been saying this?
The thing is, though, it's beyond the point of Rodgers out, because if we're next 3 games, it's too little, too late. The damage will already be done, and there is not time to bring in a new manager. It's at the point now. It is too late. It's like he's not getting sacked in this international break, and that was the last opportunity. This is the last opportunity to do it, where you could give a new manager a meaningful amount of time to make a difference. But you know, Ethan's comment there of "it's in our hands." Have you seen that? Like the thread with Brendan Rodgers of "it's in our hands."
Oh, so, I think somebody on Twitter posted it. Is it Becky or something?
Becky Taylor, yeah. She said about "it's in our hands," and it was about the Liverpool title race. They went on to lose that.
Europe
twice. Swansea, Reading getting promoted. Us getting out of the Europa League group. And it's like every time it said "it's in our hands," it's gone wrong.
And this is his biggest challenge yet, apparently. But there's nothing else for him to say. He's got no other excuses to make. He's got nothing else to really do apart from just get on with it. I mean, we've got Crystal Palace. That's a 6-pointer. I'll get other fixtures in it. But the fixtures, now I've got the international break. It gives a little bit of breathing time. It won't make a difference.
He said the same thing about the reset button as well in that interview. And it's like, how many times is that reset button going to get hit?
Yeah.
That reset button broke about a year ago.
Yeah, it's you know where you jam, what's it called? What do you put a reset button? You jam a pen into it, and then it's just the pen's gone. The actual buttons stop working. I've got what exactly it's on, but Crystal Palace. Then we've got Villa, Bournemouth. You're right. Them 3. I wouldn't say Villa, I think, are safe, but Crystal Palace are getting dragged into it. Villa is important. They've just picked up form, I think, against Bournemouth.
Villa are safe. Villa are safe.
Yeah, but I'm saying they picked up 3-0 against Bournemouth, I want to say. Bournemouth, we've got the King Power. Wolves, another one. Leeds, again, this month. Well, I'll say this month is important. The next month, I think this is a tough crunch month. Genuinely. That's
I would say, can you scroll back up for me, mate?
Yeah.
But this week of starting with the game against Palace, then obviously Villa and Bournemouth, that has to be 7 points. That has to be 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we get through that week with a strong sort of points total, we'll be fine. But if we have another week where it's, we perform well in periods, but results will come, we are absolutely screwed.
Yeah,
That
and it's 2
it
games
has
in a
to be
week.
points. It has
Yeah,
to be
and
points. And like, I'm so fed up of hearing, oh well, if we keep playing like this, we'll be all right. It needs to be points, and it needs to be
yeah.
at least 7.
And this is the thing where I've had a conversation. I said on Shameless a couple of weeks ago last week when we were talking about, and Lewis going, "You'll be okay if you keep playing like that." I was like, "We Flawless said the same thing when Man United when it was a 1-0 at home and we lost to them." I was like, "Pick up the points," and it's been the same for all of the team, apart barring Man City where we won the 1-0 where we played well. I'm dreading that game with Haaland back.
Well,
Oh,
at least
that
it's a 5:30 kickoff, so we can have a day out in Manchester before we get ruined.
yeah, and get drunk.
Positivity, positivity.
Yeah. What's happened, mate? We've switched roles. What's going on? Normally, that's why I wanted to talk about Fulham and stuff like that because it's more interesting.
The thing is, I think it's at the point now where most of us want Rodgers gone, but we
Yeah.
know he's not going to be. So we just need to really, like, I know I've said I have done all season, but really get behind the team, particularly when they're at home, and really make the King Power like that horrible place to come for the last part of the season. And it's like almost put your personal feelings aside for Rodgers, and if you think he should be here or not, and just get behind the team for the last part of the season. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the season, or when we're safe, let your feelings be known about Rodgers of getting gone. What I
Yeah.
will say is he cannot be here next year, like by any circumstance, whether that's Championship football or Premier League football. But until the summer, because he isn't going anywhere, it's just about getting behind the team as much as we physically can.
Yeah. I'm hoping so. Any other thoughts to finish on? I know you're going live in like 20 odd minutes on your channel, and again, link in the description for you to make sure to subscribe there. But any other thoughts?
I'm glad it's the international break. It probably
Yeah. I'm
the
with
last
you.
weeks have been stressful. I hate international breaks, but
I
I feel
like
like
this one.
I like
It's
this
just
one. Yeah.
I'm really like the fact that we've got an international break, and I'm like, thank God, because it's been hard, man. But again, we'll be back after the international break. We're trying to get videos out in the meantime. But we'll be back again with Ali on the channel doing a preview at 8 o'clock on the not this Wednesday coming, the next Wednesday. Anything on your channel, mate? Apart from the 9 o'clock kickoff?
Got a few bits. Obviously, got the England under 21s at the King Power, so gonna have a bit
Yeah.
around that. Depends on. Oh, got a podcast with James coming out tomorrow as well that I recorded today. We'll have content coming out throughout the 2 weeks. Hopefully, getting Cameron from the Mighty Blues and Everton Fun on as well to have a bit of a chat because I was the biggest person saying get Sean Dyche in for the longest
Mm,
time, like, and he was almost a little bit opposed to Sean Dyche going into Everton, and now he absolutely loves what Dyche is doing. So I just wanted to have a chat with him and see sort of an Everton fan's perspective on the season.
sounds good. Sounds good. So, but yeah, make sure to check out Ant's channel, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you all in the next video. So, goodbye.